Today I'm going to share my best tips with you for practicing open score so that you can be a successful and confident choir accompanist. If you didn't watch part 1 of this video, go back and watch it because I talk about exactly what open score is, and you will need that information in order to make sense of this video. But assuming you've watched that one, let's dive into how to conquer the beast that is open score. I'm Rachel Ehring, and I help pianists turn their skills into income through accompanying. When it comes to open score, the first thing I want to show you is some tips for marking your score that will help your brain process everything. Depending on the score, I will often write S, A, T, and B along the edge to make sure that my eyes know where to go, especially if the choir director asks me to only play 1 or 2 parts. Next, as I'm going through and practicing the score, I'll mark things that will help keep me going. So I might write in some chord symbols or even specific note names. I might add in some extra clefs to remind me what clef I'm in. I'll mark sections that are unison, or I might mark places where 2 or more voices are singing in octaves. The reason I do this is because if 2 parts are singing in unison for a line or 2, that is less that my brain has to process. For those lines, I really only have to read 3 parts instead of 4, so I can focus on the tricky tenor line, or if the tenor is in unison with another part, I can ignore the tenor line altogether for a few measures. For me, the hard part about playing open score is there's just too much for my tiny brain to comprehend all at once. And so anything I can do to cut down on the clutter and simplify, even if only for a few measures, it gives my brain a chance to catch up. Sometimes reading open score feels like if someone asked you to read 4 lines of a book at the same time, but one of them was written upside down. It's just really not a nice thing to ask a person to do, but it is part of the accompanist's life. So I'm trying to make it easier for you. All right, once you've marked your score, let's talk about how you're going to practice open score. And of course, you can add more markings to your score as you continue to practice and find things that will be helpful to mark. When you start practicing, I recommend you start by playing only 2 parts at a time, and you can do different combinations of parts. Once you feel good about those 2 parts, you can move on and practice 3 parts. Again, you want to practice different combinations, and you want to try as best you can to play the parts with the hand that you will be using when you eventually play all the parts together. You might need to make some marks about which hand is going to play the middle voices to keep things on track. Once you're starting to feel okay with 3 parts, it's time to try playing all 4 parts at once. When you start, you need to play very slowly because your brain isn't going to be able to comprehend everything at once. Go as slowly as you need to, and you will likely need to leave some notes out, and that's okay. There might be places where it's impossible to even play all the notes because of the distance between the soprano and bass. Your goal is to play as much of the harmonic structure as you can and keep the style of the piece. You're going to keep practicing slowly until you start to build the muscle memory for some of those chords and different voices, and you will notice that it's getting better and a little faster day by day. Now let's talk about when you get to rehearsal and your mind freaks out a little bit. Believe me, I have been in many rehearsal situations where my mind completely spazzed out and I thought I was going to lose all the notes from all of my fingers. So this is what you need to do. When you can't play all of the parts or you have a brain freeze moment, keep as much going as you can. Keep your pulse, even if you're only playing the bass line. Then you can add in the soprano and then start to add back in the other voices. Keeping a good rhythmic pulse is so important, even if you have to leave out whole sections of 1 or 2 of the parts. Your goal with open score is to play as much as you can and give the choir as much information as you can about the rhythmic and harmonic structure of the piece. If you can play the correct rhythms, most of the correct harmonies, and get the musical style of the piece, you will be a sought-after choral accompanist, and choir directors will love you. I hope that this video has been helpful for you. If you want to learn more about mastering the art of accompanying, I have a free masterclass that I want to invite you to. I give even more practical tips about how to earn income through accompanying. The link is in the description, so I hope to see you there. I'm Rachel Ehring, and I will talk with you again very soon.